this moment in time where our path has crossed and our destinies are now intertwined. I'm Elder Michael Johnson, and it's an honor to be in your presence. As I speak these words, I can sense the uncertainty in your hearts and many feeling this falling into this deep abyss where the truth seems to be inclusive. The darkness overwhelming, but fear not, you are not alone. You see, you are here for a reason, a purpose. You may not yet comprehend, but one has been calling out to you, urging you to seek the truth and wake up from your slumber that has held you captive. And yet, in this irony, O Heavenly and Eternal Father, Jehovah, the source of light and understanding, we come to you today and we stand before Thee. In this appointed hour of rest, desiring not lofty words, but a pure heart and a discerning mind, and asking you to remove from us every shadow that would mingle truth with confusion, to teach us. Teach us to weigh the voices that approaches our thoughts, that we may know which messenger speaketh for life and which whispereth for ruin. So, Father, as we enter into this study today, let every inward peace and every inward place in our soul be searched. Expose the secret motive that is hidden beneath this gentle speeches, Father. Reveal the subtle pride that disguises itself as wisdom. Let no fowl of corruption build his nest within the chambers of our understanding, and drive far from us the spirits that feed upon weakness, the influences that delight in conflict, the teachers who dwell in darkness and call it light. I ask, Father, to grant that we may learn righteousness, not by wisdom of men, but by what Thou hast forbidden. Cause us to discern between the clean and the unclean, between the peaceful and the predator, between the gentle voices that bring rest and the loud boast that brings confusion. Let every proud imagination fall, and let the humble spirit rise as incense before Thee, Father. So today we seek not revelation for pride or for pride's sake, but for purification of perception. And may our hearing, Father, be trained to recognize the sound of deceit before it settles in our heart. And when doctrines approaches, it approaches and clothed in beauty, yet carries death, causing our spirits to recoil when flattery speak of peace, yet lead towards rebellion, making us quick to perceive the snare, and give us courage, Father, to refuse the teachings that elevates flesh, and patient to embrace the quiet counsel that brings every soul into obedience. So let the fire of thy truth, Father, purge our inward parts, and that our lips may not repeat the sayings of scavengers, nor the mind that feeds on carcasses and old offenses. And may our thought rise as gentle doves, pure, teachable, untainted by envy or exhortation, even self-exhortation, the form of the heart that prefers correction to complement the examination to presumption, obedience to imagination. So I've asked, dear Father, as we learn to examine ourselves this day, be with us. Sit as a refiner in our assembly, measuring every word that proceeds from the mouth of your prophets. Weigh every motion of the spirits, not letting unclean take root. Let nothing false find shelter, and cause our study to build what is living and not fed upon what is dead. Give us eyes, Father, that love the light, and a heart that clings to truth, and a soul that rests in thy guidance. So when this lesson, Father, end today, and silence return this moment, let discernment remain here, and may we walk forth as those born from the ashes, purged from deception, renewed in understanding, governed by peace. Let this be our offering unto thee, a mind kept pure and a spirit kept humble, a life guarded by your truth. Oh, Father, I pray this. I pray this, Father, in the name of the word that you have sent to us. And you said it will not return void. The name Jehovah. In Jehovah I will always pray in, Father. Amen. And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the house of the Lost Sheep of Israel as we prepare today to get ready into the house of Jehovah. And I know we have a few announcements and also what we doing here. But we do have a full day, full schedule today. especially what's going on in the in Zoom today. We have some pretty good announcements from what I was told, that we do have a secure place for tabernacles. So that will be announced in the back, and making sure that everyone can make sure they can get registered in to where we can prepare for there. And also, sisters, you guys is on the hook. So you guys will be doing presentations today, as we have spoke on this past Wednesday. And this kids class still going to go on as normal. But I do want to make sure that we make sure we take care of what we have to take care of. But I do want to make sure we do understand what's going on today. In last week on Deacon Ant, he was under the weather, but I believe he's pretty good right now. Me and him spoke for a little while the past couple of days. So I believe that class that he will be having tomorrow on Bible therapy, I believe it will be moving forward. And I also want to make sure that everybody recognize Brother D'Angelo Francis. Brother D'Angelo Francis lost his father this past Sabbath. And we just want to make sure our prayers, our concerns for him go out. And that we always standing here by him to make sure if anything he needs, we're here to help that brother. So this is the brother that teaches, and he's over in the Bahamas under the umbrella over there with Deacon Jonathan. So I do want to give my condolences. He was in pretty good spirits when me and him spoke, but no matter what, hopefully that brother have beautiful memories of his father. So as we continually move forward, we understand what is going on. But I do want to make sure a couple of things. As I know, I had received a lot of phone calls based on the teaching on the first day of the week of this past. And we're going to finish this out, and you see it right up there. Leviticus chapter 11, we're dealing with these fowls of the air, these messengers. In the same as we looked at this past week, the same as we got to look at right now. In the same as we continue to remember that we are not here. So I might be a little bit longer today, but I'm going to take my time to where you clearly understand what is going on. Because these Leviticus chapter 11 is more of a reflection to see who you are and what you are about and who you fail to in what you need to do. So I know a lot of people thinking I'm throwing rocks at them. But if you notice, you go back and listen, you don't see me throwing rocks at them. I'm just telling you what these things are. So I know a lot of y'all says, well, we're going to say, hey, y'all still love me. That's what I'm going to ask y'all today. Do y'all still love me? Because I know a lot of people got upset behind Leviticus chapter 11. But I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep sitting there telling them what we have to do and what's required of us. So we getting ready to get serious now. We too far down in the deep to have any type of breathing apparatuses to even try to come up. But we have to understand one thing. These fowls of the air. The nature of these messengers. I want to show you something. We're going to get started here. Let's look at something. Let's look at something here and get this understanding here. Let me see here. We're going to deal with right there, and we got to deal with a few things. And I want to switch this over. I want to get to this one. That's the one I want right there. And I want to make sure that we all understand one thing. So I want everybody to turn to Leviticus chapter 11, but we're going to start at verse 1. We want to look at that. We want to look at that. Leviticus chapter 11, verse 1. I want you to look at it, and I want you to pay close attention on what is going to be said here. In Leviticus chapter 11, verse 1, it says this. And you see, it's real simple. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them. That's where we stop it at. Now we're going to drop down to verse 13. This is key. And once he spoke to him, he says, and these are they which ye shall have in abomination among the fowls. We're going to get a whole lot of understanding today. And I'm going to take my dear sweet time today. So we might be a little bit longer over on this side and shorter in the Zoom. But these are abominations among the fowls. They shall not be eaten, and we know that means to learn of. They are an abomination. The eagle and the ostrich and the osprey. It's interesting. And it keep listing more and more and more. But these fowls, they carry this really deep, this profound meaning when we start looking at the spiritual representation of these angels, these messengers, these spirits of heaven, both some good, some bad. So I want to make sure that each and every person has their pencil and paper ready. And 2, you hear it all across the board, across King James Bible University. We are not part of no Christian camp, no Christian facility, no Christian anything. People who like to use these Ushabah, they go by these ignorant names. We're not tied to them by no way, shape, form, or fashion. We don't sit there and hide behind names. If they're going to lie to you about their name, they're going to lie to you in person. I want you to clearly understand me on this. This is why when you deal with camps, they come under these false names, and it's telling you they false ways. So then if anything goes wrong, the first thing going to come out of their mouth is a lie anyway, because they already approached you with a lying name. Everybody follow me? And then they want to call themselves messengers of God. They name Ushabah, all this stupid stuff. So we look at this. Some good, some bad. But the prince and powers of these airs, these young men. So when Jehovah established which fowls are abomination, he revealed through dark speeches which spiritual influences, which messengers, which doctrines we must reject absolutely, positively every time. Everybody with me? So the law does not provide a complete list of clean fowls. We want to keep that in mind. So rather, it provides an extensive detail about the clean and unclean, but then you can sit there teaching by contradiction. So we learn righteousness, not only by his command, but by understanding what is forbidden. So when we look at this, we got to understand what the unclean fowls represents, these predatory spirits. Unclean fowls represents predatory spirits. I want you to make sure you write all that down. These are predatory spirits. These are scavenging influences. These are messengers of darkness. These are transverse spirits in the atmosphere, seeking whom they may devour or they can defile. Everybody with me? I want to make sure you stay with me on this, because I told you I'm going to take my time today. But But these fowls, these spiritual fowls of the air, they operate as principalities and powers in high places. Actually, I'm going to show you this because actually I didn't get to set everything up, but we're going to run this. We're going to look at Ephesians chapter 6, looking at verse 12. We're going to start there. And it's telling this is for we, it's right here, I'm going to highlight it, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Clear. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers and darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Everybody with me? These are predatory birds soaring in the heavens above represents this invisible spiritual forces that attack from positions of height. Everybody with me? They're going to always attack you from positions of height and authority. So while the scavenging birds, they feed upon carrion. And most people don't know what carrion is. Carrion is carcasses, decaying. Carrion. So, and then if you need to write that down, just put C-A, which I'm going to be doing some of that also, C-A-R-R-I-O-N, this carrion. So you'll know what it is. So you'll know as I move forward, you know what I'm talking about. But it's talking about carcasses. And it always going to spiritually represent, those doctrines, influences that thrive upon spiritual death and decay. So when many times you move into these assemblies only after Jehovah's presence has departed from life, has ceased. It depends upon what is eaten out of them. They determine how hard it will be for some of their loved ones to leave these churches. You got to think about that. See, the heart, when you have some of your loved ones in these places, and then you can't figure out why they won't leave. I'm going to tell you why. Because many times it depends on what was eaten out of them. And if it was already eaten out of them, their heart, their mind, it could be already removed from them. So now they had a problem. So let's look at something. We want to look at something before we get started. I got these up here. And as we're going to do, these are fowls of the air, the nature of these messengers. And we're going to go through some of them because I want you to understand who some of these predators are about. So let's look at some of them. And we're going to sit there and we're going to see this here to where we just can get somewhat of an understanding, because these you actually do not see in scripture, but these are predators. So like the falcon, and the falcon is the hunter, will not cease to attacks. This is like Christians, camps. They're going to constantly attack you. Constantly. Let me turn that off to where you can sit there and see this. Let me sit there in 1 second. Let me see. Well, it still didn't change it, but that's okay. So as long as you can kind of see it there. But the main thing is, the falcon, he's a hunter. He will not cease. Just like Christians, just like camps. That's why camps stand on corners like hoes, constantly telling you ignorant stuff. And he got the carousel. He's the fierce predator, but he's a little, he ain't big, he's lit, but he's a little killer though. But he's lacking great power and authority. You see it there. So as the falcon, this aggressive hunter, his prey, he's relentless, representing those who target specifically these specific individuals for destruction. And just like I said, they will not cease until they have brought down their chosen victim. This is why camps, this is why they stay on the street corners like hoes. This is why Christians continually keep pushing the same ignorance. Who hunts and they sitting there, they seeking their pleasures on what they doing. And then you got that old carousel. He's a little small. He's small, but he ain't nothing to play with. See, he's a fierce predator. But what you got to understand what he's doing. He looked like a hawk, but he's not. But it represents those who's lacking great power and authority. But to compensate for that, we got to understand his aggression is constant attacks. He's going to keep striking repeatedly, Carousel, you can actually go look them up and you'll see them bottom. And he opposes them and is one who cannot be reasoned with or appeased with. They demonstrate the size does not determine the predator's nature, or even the smallest can operate in the spirit. These unclean fowls and their characters form these seasoned, this devouring, destroying, rather than like you can see like these doves and everything else. But we're gonna go through a few of them. You got the crow. The crow is these are overwhelmers. The crow. He is the overwhelmer. You follow me? I think I can do that. Yep, able to take care of that. He's the overwhelmer. So this overwhelmer, what they do is different. They roll a little bit different. The crow, he's a scavenging animal. I want you to keep that in mind, the crow. But it represents those who operate, and they're going to operate in groups. They're going to always be in groups. The crow. Rather than he working alone. But they one who gather in numbers, and then they overwhelm people to intimidate. That should bring you to mind to some of these places and some of these people that you see on the streets. They're going to show up in great numbers to overwhelm and to intimidate you. You follow me? Crows. And who mob together. This is them. And they like to dwell away from righteous places. So they even like the raven. See, they feed upon death and desolation. That's what they do. And they like to go after collective. Rather than individual action, they establish their power through unity in unrighteousness. Then you got the buzzard. They call the carrion. Actually, I got that right up there. The carrion feeder, the carcass feeder, the buzzard. And he's the feeder, and he circles dying ministries. The buzzard. See, and what he does, he circles around these dying ministries, these failing assemblies, waiting just patiently for the final collapse so he can just strip away the resource remains, those people. See, and they do this to where they get maximum vulnerability. Never contribute to the building, but only disassembling what others already have constructed. Him. He ain't nothing to play with. The buzzard. And we'll go down a little bit more. Now, this magpie, you don't see him in there, but I'm just letting you know, these are predators. Predators. See, the magpie, the thieves. The only reason I'm laughing because of what they tied to. See, this magpie, they thieves. They identify steal anything of value. People going to sit there like, ooh, dang, I used to sit under a magpie. Yeah, a lot of us sat under the magpie. This thriving bird. He go in the assembly and not to learn or to serve, but to identify and to steal anything of value. Whether resources, talented members, innovative ideas, and then carry these stolen treasures back to their own nest. their own house. They adore themselves with what others produce, operating as spiritual, these kleptomaniacs that some people might want to call them, who cannot create, but only appropriate. Think about that. And then you got the condor. That condor ain't one to be played with. That's a bad boy right there. The condor, they call him the master scavenger. Corruption at the highest levels. The condor. See, this one here, he dominates the air, operate at the highest levels. This one rose higher than the eagle. He can roll for a while. He can fly for hours and never flap a wing, ever. All beneath his wingspan that feeds upon death, the entire movement and denominations rather than individual assemblies. The very size is apparent. Legitimacy, he convenes many in his savaging nature. And actually, people don't understand him. These are those animals. This is who they are and what they're all about. So, just as these fowls travel between the heavens and earth, we look at this. And so do they spiritual influence travel between the realms of truth and the realms of men's mind. So just as birds can even soar to these great heights or descend to feed upon carrion, the better known as carcasses or this decaying flesh. So in the dirt, so can the messengers we entertain either elevates our soul towards Jehovah or drags us into corruptions unto death. So this question, I got to point to you. The question becomes is this. Which fowl do we, keep this in mind, which fowl do we permit in our minds? See, don't sit there and say none because we all been deceived. So don't sit there and tell the lie and say, oh, well, none of them, because then you tell them a lie. So which fowl that we permit to rest in our minds? Which messenger do we take root in our hearts? Which spiritual influences we eternalize through our hearing and consideration? See, unclean fowls, predators, defiling spirits. We want to understand this. See, but we got to understand it according to law. According to law. So let's look at something. Let's go back over here to Leviticus. I want to take you here. Let's look at Leviticus. And we're going to look at this in 11:13 to 19. 11, we're going to go from 13 to 19. And we want to start getting some understanding here. And it says, and these which are, these they which have in abomination among the fowls, they should not be eaten. They should not be learned of. They are an abomination. The eagle, the ostrich, the osprey, the vulture, the kite, after his kind, which some I'd name because they wasn't there. And then it says, every raven after his kind, in the owl, in the nighthawk, in the cockerel, in the hawk after his kind, in the little owl and the cormorant, in the great owl, in the swan and the pelican, in the gier eagle, in the stork and the heron, after her kind, in the lapwing and the bat. This is interesting. This becomes interesting. You know what abomination means. See, abomination mean unclean, detestable, idolatrous, wickedness, and evil. That's what it means. It's an abomination to you. So with this extensive list, these are fowls that feed on seeds and grain. These are not those. See, living peaceably in harmony with creation, these are predators. These are scavengers, feeders on flesh, carrion, carcasses or decaying flesh, hunters of the weak, dying, dwellers, darkness, and desolation. So they represent spiritual forces in these mankind messengers. We got to start tying them to this. With this doctorial influences that feed on death, weakness, corruption, darkness rather than life, strength and purity and light. To eat these fowls mean to eternalize. I want you to understand what I'm saying. To eat of these fowls mean to internalize their nature, to learn from their examples, to adopt their methods, to allow their spiritual function to influence your own conduct. They command is absolute. They are abomination. They are unclean. That'll make you unclean. They're detestable. Makes you undetestable. Make you detestable. Make you idolatrous. Make you wicked. Not merely unclean, but abomination. Utterly detestable. Completely rejected through the command. You follow me? So we want to understand the eagle. The eagle. I want to write you down. Make sure you write it down. Write it down. See, the eagle, we want to put eagle, and actually, I want to tell you what? I want to put that there. We want to put that there. Let's put the eagle here. Let's put the eagle here. I told you I'm going to take my time. So we're going to put the eagle there. The eagle. And we want to know what the eagle is. A-L. Okay. The eagle. That's the eagle. The eagle is self-pride and self-exaltation. We got to understand this. That's the eagle. So let's get the understanding of that. We want to get the understanding of that. Get a better understanding on what we're doing here. So the eagle is spiritually, it represents the possessor, the one he operates through one philosophy, one with a carnal mind, and one from whom truth is fled away, and I'm talking about far away. This bird soars at great heights. It builds its nest in inaccessible places for humans. Inaccessible places. So it possesses sharp vision for prey. Sharp vision for prey, and strikes with overwhelming power. So the nature, in this nature of this realm, this eagle, it appears majestic, this powerful animal. And this animal, he's powerful, and it's highly impressive. Because when we're looking at this, now we want to look at what this ties to. And I want you to put in the realm, you have to put Eagle Man. Eagle Man. You can put it there. You want to put it there. So this ties you to Eagle Man. Let's put it right there. And you got to put it this way. That makes you this. That makes you that. You're ego man. Now you with me? I told you it's not gonna be an easy set today. So with this ego man, he represents one who have human pride. This man, M-A-N pride, this pinnacle of self-exaltation, and then you sit there because you're going to exhortation yourself, and then the peak of trusting in one's own strength and wisdom. I want you to stay with me on this. So this ego man, he's the possessor. He grasps, he sees, he takes ownership through his own might. He operates through philosophy, human wisdom, carnal reasoning, worldly knowledge, divorced from revelation. His mind is carnal. He's focused on earthly accomplishments, natural strength, visible success, measured by worldly standards. The ego man. From him, truth is fled away. Genuine revelations where of Jehovah ways escape from him. His elevation is self-achieved rather than this spiritual granted. His height is his pride rather than humility. He soars in rebellion rather than in submission. You follow me? Let's look at something. I want to show you something. We're going to pull up two. We're going to look at Exodus chapter 19. We want 19:4. We want another one. We want Deuteronomy 32. Excuse me. 32:11. And I want you to see this to where we can get a better understanding. Now you're going to see the Lord use this. He said, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, how I bear you on eagle wings. He ain't saying he was on eagle wings and brought you unto myself. And you see in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 11 and 12. Watch what it says here. It says, comparing an eagle as an eagle. Comparing an eagle stirred up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings. So the Spirit of God, the Lord alone did lead him. And there were no strange God with him. This is interesting. Let me get this where we can understand what was just being said. See, the similitude where it appears positive, Jehovah bearing Israel on eagle bears is young. But yet when you observe the context of this, when you look at this and you really want to understand this, I want you to pay real close attention. It's telling you there was no strange gods with him. Jehovah was alone. He did this by himself. So the eagle's strength becomes an abomination where it represents self-sufficiency rather than dependence upon Jehovah. You follow me? So the eagle trusts in rather than bore on Jehovah wings and becomes unclean. So the wings represents the spiritually this possessor, this strength, this possessor of power. So when Jehovah bear you on eagle wings, you are carried by his possessing power, his sovereign strength that delivers us from bondage and brings us unto himself, makes us utterly dependent upon the ability rather than our own, is the key on what we got to see here. So when we're looking at this, the wings now represents spiritually the possessor's strength and the possessor's power. When Jehovah bears us on eagle wings, we are carried by his possessing power, his sovereign strength that delivers us from bondage and brings us unto himself, making us utterly dependent upon his ability further than our own. But man has spread his own wings. Man has spread his own wings to soar through physiological achievements, carnal might. He become this possessor of trust in his own power, self-exalted, one who refuses to be bored and insists on flying through his own strength, transforming the very image of the divine deliverance into an abomination of human pride. Think I'm playing too, don't you? Well, I'm going to show it to you. Well, I'm going to show it to you because I'm going to show you this human pride. Let's look at something. We want to see an example, and we're going to go right here to Daniel chapter 4 and verse 30. 4 and 30, you'll see it is clear. And the king spake, who? Nebuchadnezzar. The king spake, who? Nebuchadnezzar. The king spake, who? Nebuchadnezzar. And said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by my might, my power, and my honor, and my majesty? Interesting, ain't it? And that didn't even happen that way, what he said. See, he's spreading his own eagle wings, possessor of strength and power and knowledge, that Jehovah alone have bored him in that position. He put him in that position. And this is what he did. So in that same very hour, you can see he got taken down. And Jehovah drove him from men to eat grass as oxen, even 7 times past, stripped away his eagle wings of pride until he learned the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whom he soever wills, demonstrating that all who exalt themselves as eagles through their own might shall be brought down to the beast until they acknowledge the true elevation comes only from being bored on Jehovah wings. You follow me? Let me show you. Let me take you a little bit closer. I want to show you something. We're gonna look at Obadiah. I'll show you something in Obadiah. In Obadiah, and we're gonna look at verse 4. It says, though thou exalt thyself as comparing the eagle. You see here, right? Actually, I want to put another one with it. I'm gonna put another one with it. I want to put Jeremiah with it. Just thinking about it, I want to make sure Jeremiah is here. Jeremiah 49 and 22. 49, 22. But let's go back here. Though we exalted thyself as the eagle, and though thou hast set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Interesting, ain't it? He's going to bring us down. So, because we done exalted our achievements, our pride, our presumption, we done put everything above God. And now he's sitting there saying, and I'm going to bring all that crap down. The eagle man soars on wings and confidence in who nests on high. This is what we do. We good at doing this. Through carnal strength faces inevitable judgment. And he will bring us down. He will bring us down. Let's look at this. That's why I wanted to run here. Behold, remember, he shall come up and fly as, comparing the eagle, and spread his wings over Bozrah. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom, wow, of Edom. You see what he's saying now? He ain't talking about Esau, the mighty men of Edom, because you need to know what Edom is. See, Edom is telling you spiritually, is telling you about what it represents in its sin and stubbornness. I think I'm playing. Actually, I want to tell you what. Let's do something. Let's do something. I want to show you this. Yeah, let's look at Edom. So, Edom is already there, but I want to take you to the main one. Edom, right here. The ways of sin, red, sin, rooty, stubbornness. You see it right there. You see it right here. You see it. So everybody going to sit there and they want to sit there. Oh, no, they're talking about Esau. No, it's not. No. Get that out your head. He's sitting there saying, the mighty men of Edom, these stubborn, hard-headed people, be as the heart of a woman in her pains. Now you see what it's talking about. So this ego is telling you about this. This ego represents conquering power, overwhelming might, strength to strike terror. Yet even this power, when it's power of flesh, this carnal mind, this philosophical quest, see, you're going to fail. The mighty becomes as the woman in travail, like you're pregnant, you're screaming. Their ego strength now proven insufficient in the day when Jehovah's judgment comes up on them. Edom. As I said, the stubbornness, the nature of fleshly living, trusting in their own might, their strength as egos, trusting their own wings. But when Jehovah's judgment comes as that ego spreading over them, in all their stubbornness, their self-reliance collapse. Tell me you don't. You telling me it's going to happen, right? Tell me you don't. It's going to collapse. And those who discover too late, their carnal mind cannot withstand this divine power. When you got this red and rooty man, this Edom who walks away of sin and stubbornness flesh, he learned that their ego wings of human strength becomes their terror when true ego wings of Jehovah judgment spreads over them, reducing their mighty hearts to weakness, their stubbornness and their stubborn confidence into pain. Let me take this a little bit closer. Let me take it a little bit closer because we got a problem here. We got to take this a little bit closer. Let's go to Hosea chapter 1, but we're going to pick it. Actually, we're on 8 and 1. It says, set the trumpet of thy mouth, he shall come comparing an eagle against the house of the Lord. This is what we do. We're going to come as this against the Lord because they has transgressed my covenant. Yeah, we did. And trespassed against my law. Tell me we didn't. Then tell me why we're here. If we didn't do it, tell me why we're here. Why are we not back in our homeland if we didn't do it? See, the ego is the instrument of judgment against those who transgress the covenant and trespass against the law. So the very strength which when men trusted their own ego-like power, they power their philosophical sophistication that people like to use, their carnal achievements becomes the means of their destruction when they forsake Jehovah's instruction. Real simple. Real simple. Let's take this a little bit closer. Let's take it a little bit closer. Let's look at some of the secondaries. I want to take you somewhere. Secondaries. We're going to look at 11:37. 11:37. And he says, and I beheld, and I saw, and lo, comparing it was a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw that he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle. Interesting. He sent it unto the eagle and said, hear thou, I will walk with thee, and the highest shall say to thee, art your perfection and beauty not thou it the remainest of the four beasts of whom I made to reign in my world? In the end of their times might come through them. This eagle vision represents these earthly kingdoms, these human power structures, these philosophical systems that reign through the carnal might. Lions representing the Messiah who confronts these eagles, exposing this reign that exists by divine permission. It will end to a divine degree. So when we're looking at eagle's philosophy, the eagle's possession, the eagle's exhortation, all serve ultimately dominated their own frailty before Jehovah's purpose. Show you something. Why I'm even saying what I'm saying. And when we're looking at this in Matthew chapter 24, verse 28, 24 and 28, and you'll see why. It says, and whosoever the carcass is, whosoever this decaying person, whoever this dying person is, whoever this dead person is, there will be eagles be gathered together. Exactly the point. Coming right out the mouth of Yahushua. Coming right out of his mouth. The eagle is gathered to the carcasses, to death, to corruption, to what is already, not getting ready, already slain. The eagle man is gathered to feed on spiritual death, to possess what is already destroyed, to exalt themselves over ruins. To gather in these eagles marks the judgment of an end of an age, this consumption of what is dead through this rejection of truth. So I want you to think about that. When we looking at the eagle king's vision, seize the opportunity for possession. And he's feeding. Not life to preserve or truth to uphold, but you got to understand the similitude that applied to the mankind character, because you got to consider a man, even of a man who you can see he's a this one always want to learn, this great learning, and one who ascends through like a man who want to ascend through like academics, academics achievement, philosophical training, intellectual prowess, we can say. He possesses credentials. He holds positions of authority. He speaks with confidence. He holds who soared in heights of his own efforts. He holds down from his elevated position. And he holds them down in lesser education, simpler understanding. This eagle man, his mind is carnal, focused on human wisdom, natural knowledge, worldly recognition. He operates through philosophy, sophisticated reasoning. That sound wise yet lacks the fear of Jehovah. That is the beginning of wisdom. So truth is fled far from him, not because he lacks information, but because he trusts in his own elevation. You follow me? Rather than seeking revelation from above, he builds his nest among the stars of human achievement. Believing in his position is secured, his understanding complete, his vision comprehensive. Yet Scripture declare such men and people like this are abominations. This is the ego nature. His possessive or grasping and acknowledge is pride and exaltation, human wisdom, carnal confidence, intellectual achievements makes them unclean. When he speaks, he disperses philosophy rather than precepts. Interesting, ain't it? See, human reasoning rather than divine revelation, worldly wisdom rather than heavenly understanding. He eats of the flesh. He learns from examples and adopts his methods and eternalizes his approach. It is to consume abomination. Tell you what, I want you to consider, look at a minister. A minister who has built this great assembly through persuasive oratory of some type. And he has organizational skills, he has personal charisma, he possesses influence, and he commands respect. He soars above others in reputation and reach. He looks out over his congregation as the eagle. He surveys his domain from heights. His success becomes through his gifts, his efforts, his strategies. This eagle man is a spiritual leadership, is what he's doing. He spreads his wings to accomplishments. He strikes with powerful messages. He seizes opportunity for expansion. But still, he examined the foundation. It is Jehovah who exalts him. Or has he exalted himself as the eagle? You tell me. Does he operate through revelations in the spirit or through philosophy and carnal methods? You tell me. Is his mind set on things above or earthly things of success measured by the number of viewers? Is he set by the numbers of subscribers? His truth remains with him and has fled away, and he has ascended through his own might. So scriptures warns that Jehovah will bring down such exhortation. The eagle man. The eagle man in the pulpit, no matter how high he soars through personal ability, faces judgment of his elevation, his self-achievement rather than God granted. Because his influence is, it flows from the carnal mind rather than the spiritual submission. His message is philosophy rather than precepts. I want to show you something. In Jeremiah 11 and 9, and we're going to also look at Romans 1, 22, 23. And I want you to look at this, take real close attention to it. It says, "And the Lord said unto me, a conspiracy is found among the men of Judah, including among the inhabitants of Jerusalem," all Israel. I want you to clearly understand what he's saying here. This eagle represents a conspiracy in gathering of these possessors, this correlation, this philosophical mindset, this minded of people, this assembly of those who trust in carnal strength. When men are supposed spiritual authority gather their eagle heights, speak philosophy rather than precepts, possessing rather than serving, exalting human wisdom rather than divine revelation, they form a conspiracy against truth itself. Think about that. That's why I wanted you to run this. Romans 1, 22 and 23. Because professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into the image made like a a corruptible man. You follow me? See, this ego man possesses, and he's going to always profess his wise, his wisdom. But his philosophical sophistication, his intellect, elevation, his carnal understanding, yet the very profession reveals his foolishness. His glory, his image, and true into philosophy, revelations of men's reasoning. Into birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. These birds emulate the soaring to heights, this estimation while remaining earthbound, spiritually reality, possessing much while understanding nothing. Exalted in pride and disregard truth. So when we're looking at people such as this ego flesh that commands the absolute, you don't eat of it. You don't eat it. You don't learn of it. Do not internalize this pattern of pride. Do not adopt this method of sex exhortation. Do not learn of those who trust in their own wings, who nest in heights of human achievements, who possesses through carnal might, who operate through philosophy rather than precepts. They are an abomination to you. They are an abomination. They're ego. These are abominations to you. Let's look at something. Let's go here. 1 second. And let's go here. You got it here. The seagull. Pride, self-exaltation, it soars above all other birds, building his nest, but it soars in these great heights, and it's all this we went through. We went through all this. You have to understand the importance on what you're doing. You have to understand this on what is happening. But we have another one. We have another one. And actually, before we finish, because I did make some of that. He above correction, yeah, exactly. He builds his nest in high places. All this stuff we talked about. All this we talked about. But I want to show you something. You have the vulture and the offspring, the scavengers of spiritual death. I want you to look at that. I want you to pay attention to this. The vulture and the osprey are not hunters, but they're scavengers who feed on what is already dead. You follow me? What is already dead, already spiritually dead. They circle over the dying, waiting to consume carrion. The offering is the bone breaker, erecting the last morsel from rotting carcasses. So scavengers, as I got them all up there, I got them all where you can see it. The scavengers, they do not kill, but feed on what is already dead. Scavengers. Bone breakers, they extract the last morsel from rotting spiritual carcasses. Is what they're going to do. Circling death. See, they're going to wait until others to die, positioning to benefit from destruction. Repeat matters. They spread failures and transgressions until friends are separated. Vultures. See, when we're looking at this vulture, it's going to always represent a proverb. The wolf, the lion, wild man, the hyena, the ostrich. And this also called the bone breakers. They all share one thing, similar characteristics. These birds are not hunters at all. They're scavengers. They don't kill, but they feed off of what is already dead. That's what we've been saying the entire time. So we have what we call a vulture man. A vulture man. Let's look at this. So we have what we have. So we have a vulture man. Actually, we got to put the vulture. In. We want to put this here. What it does. And the vultures is scavengers. Hey. Okay. So we'll call him the vulture man. Exactly what he is. So that's what you have there. So now we get an understanding here on what we dealing with. See, the vulture man and the ostrich man, because actually I forgot to put that one there. The ostrich man, because it's the same one. Because they both do the same. I might spell it wrong. Ostrich man. Okay. 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 So we have those both. To where we look at them. In these represents those who strive on spiritual death and corruption. They feed on failures. I want you to really clearly understand what I'm saying. They feed on failures of others. They rejoice in failing of righteousness. They gather wherever there's this spiritual decay. They speak the proverbs. Not proverbs of wisdom of Jehovah, but rather cynical. Y'all know what I'm saying? Cynical mean this selfless. They are 100% insincere. 100% insincere in their sayings. Those who have seen much death feed upon that there. They ain't no different than like wolves, lions, predators. They are scavengers. They are wild men and hyenas operating outside of civilized spiritual boundaries, laughing at misfortunes. Have you ever seen that? They're going to laugh at your misfortune. They provide their substance. This is them. Let's look at something. In Deuteronomy 14, we'll pick it up in verse 21. And it says, ye should not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Don't eat anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat of it, that he may eat it, or thou mayest sell it unto the alien. You can sell it to anybody else, but don't you do it. For thou art a holy people, you are separated people unto the Lord thy God, to the Spirit of thy God. Thou shalt not seeth the kid in his mother's milk. Exactly the point. Exactly the point. When we're looking at things that dies of itself is unclean. Let me bring it a little bit closer. If anything that still want to continue to go into a church that is dying, you don't want to learn of that. Now do you understand what I'm saying? Anyone you see continually going into the church, you don't want to learn of that because it's dying of itself. You don't want to learn of that. You don't want to learn nothing of them. Why? They teaching you how to die. They teaching you how to have death. People say, but my dad is in there, my mom is in there, my cousin. Okay, you don't want to learn of nothing they doing. They teaching you how to die. They teaching you how to have that second death. When it's died of itself, they willfully going in there dying. They willfully doing this. They don't thrive on other failures. They don't build on his reputation on other fails. Yet the vulture man and the ostrich man make their entire living from such consumption. That's what they do. I want to put up something. Let's put up two of them. Let's put up Jeremiah 15:3. We're going to put up Jeremiah 15:3, but we also want to put up another one. We're going to put up 2 Kings. In 2 Kings, it's 9:37, I believe. I believe it's 9:37. But when we want to understand what prophets is talking about, we want to understand this all together. In Jeremiah 15:3, it says this. It says, and I will appoint over them 4 kinds, said the Lord, said the Spirit of God. The sword to slay, and the dogs to tear, and the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to what? To devour and to destroy. This is interesting. See, fowls of the heaven join to devour those under judgment. The vulture man positions himself to benefit from others' destruction. So when Jehovah's judgment falls, when spiritual death occurs, when believers stumbles and fall, the vulture man circles overhead, waiting to feed. He does not weep for the fallen. He consumes their remains. He doesn't seek restoration. He extracts to profit from their failure. You guys follow me? So when we're looking at 2 Kings 9:37, you see what it says is, and the carcass of the Jezebel shall be as dung, comparing it boo-boo. Compared as dung upon the face of the field in the portions of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, this is Jezebel. Wow. This judgment involves a being consumed until nothing remains to identify her. The dogs, the vultures, the scavengers should feed upon the carcasses was reduced to just poop. You reduced to poop. This is the work of a vulture man. They reduce spiritual failures to dung. They done consumed you, scavenging, consumption, and they grasp and they're spreading of their other sins, and they feeding upon corruption until nothing remains but filth. Just pooped out. Poop you out. I done did it. Now I can poop you out. So when we're looking at Jezebel, whose name spiritually means, Jezebel name spiritually means self-righteous, unchastened, without. You follow me? See, it represents those who elevate themselves in their own eyes, in their own understanding, while living spiritually as a whole. Holy as a whole. Possessing outward religion appearance, yet being without genuine devotion to Jehovah. Now you follow me? She was self-righteous. She's promoting false worship, unchastened in her spiritual adultery with Baal. And without true fear of the Most High. Her ends reveals her fate, not faith, fate to all others embodied her pattern, self-righteous in her consumption, until their pride consumed, become unrecognizable dung. Unrecognizable. I tell you what, people gonna say that, yeah, but I still gotta tell you. Have you ever, I'm gonna ask everybody. So, and this is for all the meat eaters and vegetarians. How many people have ate a steak? Just put eyes who all ate steak, and then all the vegetarians who all ate a large, nice salad. All you do is just put eyes. I should have eyes rolling everywhere, because other than that, you ain't never ate before. Okay. Either that or that, you didn't never ate before. So I should have eyes across everywhere. So now y'all gonna say, "Ooh, Elder Johnson, but we still gotta say it." Yeah, I appreciate everybody's participation. So it's gonna become, so once these vulture men, these people done consumed it, it's just like you consume the steak in that big old beautiful salad. Tell you what you do. Have you ever just looked back in the toilet and what you put in the toilet? I hate to say it that way. You ever looked into it? Is it recognizable? Do it look like the steak that you consumed? Do it look like the salad you ate? If it look like the same thing that you ate, put an I. If it don't, put no. You show me somebody who's gonna eat a steak and it's gonna come out the other end and still look like a steak. Or you ate a salad and it's gonna come out and it still look like a salad. It gonna look like dung. It gonna be unrecognizable. That's the point. That's the point he's making. That is the point being made. Unchastened, until the spiritual harlotry is reduced to nothing upon the field, and those who are without righteousness are scattered by scavengers. Poop, till nothing remains to identify once it's claimed to be. Demonstrating that this vulture man ultimately flees upon reduced to just dung. Live as this Jezebel live, self-exaltation, adultery, and absent of genuine holiness. I hate to use it, but I couldn't think of anything. I was trying to think of something else to you, but I couldn't think of anything. Tried to, but I couldn't. Let's look at this in Proverbs chapter 17, looking at verse 9. We pick it up there. It says, "He that covereth the transgression seeketh love, but he that repenteth, that repeateth the matter, separate very friends." Exactly the point. Exactly the point. I want to show you something. Let me drop down to 26. But before I do, I still want to say this. When we're looking at the vulture man, and repeat matters, he feeds on transgression. He's going to feed on that. I don't know why these keep popping up. But he spreads his knowledge of failures. He consumes and he regurgitates spiritual death until friends are separated. He's going to keep doing it until friends are separated. His reputation are destroyed. And nothing remains but the stench of the carrion, the carcass, this decaying flesh. The left is that stench that you don't go back in that bathroom for about 25, 45 minutes. That type of thing. Into that stench of that carcass, that decaying flesh is in there. So the righteous man covered the transgression seeking restoration. The vulture man exposes transgression seeking consumption. Now you follow me. But let's look at something. In Proverbs chapter 26, looking at 20, actually we're going to go to 21 and 22. It says, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. Where ain't no wood at, the fire going to go out. Where there is no talebearer, oh, dang. So where there's no talebearer, the strife cease. I know that hit a lot of people right there. I know it hit a whole bunch of people. So as the coals are burning, as coals are burning coals and wood to fire, so a contentious man, M-A-N, male or female, is kindled strife. You follow me? Meaning, when you got these little talebearers always run around, you're just starting crap. Just starting mess. That's why when we smell what is going on in here, we get rid of it. We get rid of that. That's because that's a stench. So it's a vulture man. A vulture man is a talebearer who prevents strife from ceasing. They feed on the flames of conflict because conflict produces the spiritual death upon which they're going to feed upon. They are contentious. They kindle strife because strife generates carcasses. Think about it. It destroys relationship. It destroys fallen ministry. It destroys believers, and that provides his substance. He need more substance to feed on. That's why people in there. John's only playing. He'll put you out. Surely will. In a heartbeat. Especially on tailbearing. I don't have time for it. See, the wood represents the fuel of tales, the gossip, the reports of transgression. The talebearer continually carries and deposits into the fires of strife. Just as wood be added repeatedly to keep the natural fire burning. So when we're looking at this talebearer, he must continually bring fresh reports. And you follow me? This talebearer got to keep bringing new accusations. Now you follow me? This is what they do. They repeat reminders of past offenses. They keep fires of conflict, consuming just relationships. Talebearers. See, talebearers function as the vulture man gathering carrion. This is why you go to churches, you go people, family, friends, cousins, everybody. You can see the vulture man there because that's what they feed on. On every corner, casting this death matters as wood upon fires of strife, transforming that what might be have been covered with love and fuel for destruction, ensuring that the flames never ever cease from consuming until every relationship is reduced to mere ash. It is what it is. Every ministry is burned to ruin. Every believer is separated from another without the talebearer consistent supply of wood. the fire would naturally die and strife would cease. But the vulture man, that vulture man, cannot permit the sensation because his substance depends upon the ongoing destruction that only perpetual conflict can produce. It is what it is. I want you to consider something. I want you to think about something. Consider an assembly of brothers and sisters. Consider an assembly of brothers and sisters walking in peace, where ministry flourish with relationships strengthens mutual edification into this peaceful field. And then this vulture man arrives. Vulture man arrives. Carrying tales. He approaches one brother and whispers a report that another has spoken against him. Though no such words was ever uttered. Then he goes to a sister with grave concerns that the leader questions her faithfulness. Though no such question occurred. They move through the congregation scattering accusations like seeds of death. Do you know what they say about you? Have you heard what they were planning? I thought you knew what was being said behind your back. See, this is what they're going to be doing. This is how that vulture works. None of these reports can ever be verified because many times, due to the concealment of these liars, however, none include specific details that can be examined. None provide witnesses that can be questioned, and each carry his own vagueness and plant the suspicion just enough, specifically to feel credible. Just enough urgency to demand immediate response. The vulture man. The vulture man watches as confusion spreads. As questions arise, as brothers once embraced now regard each other with suspicion. Sisters who once labored together now avoid one another's presence. They cast their wood upon non-existing coals, hoping to generate fire where none burn, creating strife where peace dwelt, manufacturing conflict where harmony reigned at. They accuse the brother that has no defense because he knows he don't even know nothing about the accusation or the content. How does one answer a charge and remain undefined? The questioned sister not clear her name because she understand not what doubt has been cast against them. How does one prove faithfulness against suspicion when it was never openly stated? See, the vulture man has carefully crafted his tale. Carefully crafted his tale to be unfalsifiable. Do you know what that means? Unfalsifiable. That means the claim cannot be proven false under the circumstances because the players are never revealed to the accused. Unfalsifiable. That's actually a word too, just to let you know. But it's unfalsifiable because the players is never revealed to the accused. But they're vague enough to avoid direct confrontation, specific enough to generate concern, anonymous enough to prevent verification, urgent enough to demand belief without investigation. When confronted, he claims only to be concerned for unity or the issue at hand. while actively destroying it, professing only care about truth, while spreading lies, insists he seeks only accountability, while preventing any actual account of his tales. Their goal is not restoration, but carcasses. Their need for relationships to die that they may feed upon its remains. They need the ministry to collapse so many can consume its corpse. Need the assembly to be fractured that they may savage among the wounded. You follow me? Where there is life, they seek to generate death. Where there is peace, they kindle strife. Where there is unity, they manufacture division. The vulture cannot feed on living relationships. It's impossible. It's impossible. They require carcasses. And if none exist naturally, he will attempt to create them through false accusations, manufactured conflicts, and whispered tales that serves as wood to kindle fires where no coals burned before. It's a trip, ain't it? Let's look at something. Let's go over here to Luke. And we're going to look at Luke 12:16-20. And it says, and he spoke a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentiful. I want you to really understand what's getting ready to go down. And he thought with himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, this will I do. I will pour down my barns, build greater, and there I will bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say unto my soul, soul, he gonna talk to soul, thou hast much good laid up for many years. Take thy ease and eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, thou, you fool. I want y'all to think about that something for a minute. And God said to him, fool. I'm only saying that because I want people, when you say that, they like to say that you don't say it. I want them to correct God. Because God said, fool. I need y'all to say, tell God that ain't cool. I need somebody to tell God that. Because people sit there and say you don't say. I need somebody to tell God, don't say that. This night, fool, thou shalt be required of thee. Then those things be which thou hast provided. See, when a fool's soul was required, who consumed his goods? Who consumed his goods? I tell you, the vultures and scavengers. The vulture man did not build. He waits for others to build, then die, that he may consume, and then they just acclimated it. He don't create. He scavenged from what is created. The offerage, he's the bone breaker. He extracts the last value from what others has built before the death. People sit there. I know people hate to hear this, but I want to show you where I stand. I need people to understand where I stand, where Elder Johnson stands. I'm gonna show you. Actually, let me pull this up because people need to understand where I stand. Because I told you these few teachers ain't people ain't gonna like, but I want to make sure you understand where Elder Johnson stands. We're gonna go to Galatians 4:16. But I want to pull up John. In 8:45. Why? Because I want to show you something. 8:45. Because I want you to understand one thing. In knowing what I've chosen, knowing what I have chosen, and I have chosen to live on the side of Jehovah. Period. In this position, the life that I moved over to, I have no father, no mother, no wife, no children, no friends that is not on the side of Jehovah. And I'm going to repeat it to where everybody will get what I'm saying. On this side, I have no father, no mother, no wife, no children, no friends that is not on the side of Jehovah. For when one speaks truth without compromise, that's me, because I'm a speaker without compromise, one will quickly discover the reality. This is why I wanted to bring you here. I am therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth. Is that what happened? So those who claim kinship suddenly regard truth speakers as the adversary, not because of any offense was committed, but because truth itself exposes what they wish to keep hidden. It convicts one's desires to justify and demand separation from what preferred to be embraced. And the reason why I wanted to show you this is because Yahweh said this, or Jesus. He said this in 8:45. He says, because I tell you the truth and ye believe me not, which you are convinced me of sin. And if I say the truth, why do you not believe me? Interesting. So he's revealing that rejection comes not from any failure in speaking truth, but from the hearer's relationship with the fathers of lies, who abodes not in truth because there is no truth in them. When I chose to stand with Jehovah, speaking his precepts without additions, without restrictions, without men dilutions or tradition corruptions, because they got a lot of traditional corruptions, those who walk with mixtures declare me as their enemy. Why? A man tells you not the truth, as Jesus told, not because I attacked them, but because truth attacked the lies they cherish against me. Not because I reject them, but because they cannot abide in the light that exposed their darkness. You follow me? Let me say it again. Same as Jesus. Not trying to put myself on this level, but same as him. Told also, because not at any time I attacked them, but because the truth attacked the lies they cherish against me. Not because I rejected them at any time, but it's because they cannot abide in the light that exposed their darkness. Not because they sought division or I ever sought division against them, but because they demand I join to their compromise and submit to it. And I refuse, they cast me out. Therefore, I embrace this position willingly. Willingly. Let every relationship that cannot stand in Jehovah's truth fall away. Period. Every kinship that requires me to dilute the precepts be severed. Let every friendship that demands compromise, light be dissolved. I have learned that those who truly stand with Jehovah will not become my enemy when I speak the truth. And those who become my enemy, when truth is spoken, have revealed, they never stood with Jehovah at all anyway. Regardless of their claims, their positions, or their professions, they never was with him. The reason why, when we're looking at character, you got to consider the persons whose conversation always turn into failures, others whose interest awakens when someone stumbles, whose attention focuses on scandals, falls. No different that reality shows. When a person is exposed in sin, the person does not weep or pray for restoration. Rather, this person spread the news, analyzed the details, and discussed scandals with relish. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait to tell him this. This is the vulture man. He circles every spiritual death when marriages is in trouble or fails. They're there to consume these details. When ministries collapse, they feed on the circumstances. When followers of Christ falls into sin, he breaks the bones and extracts every morsel of gossip in it. He speaks proverbs, these cynical proverbs. Cynical meaning just stupid, motivated by nothing more than selfishness. Saying about how all spiritual leaders, Christian leaders lump them with our leaders. Dumb camps try to be lumped with us. All corrupt. How marriages eventually fails. How religious people, even followers of Christ, are hypocrites. Their proverbs spring not from wisdom, but from the diets of death. A teacher of truth should never be lumped with a religious leader of the world, ever. Because then you remove the separateness on which we are. The vulture man, they masquerade as one concerned for truth, for accountability, for exposing hypocrisy, yet examine their pattern. Does he weep over sin or rejoice over uncovering it? Do they weep over sin or they rejoice in uncovering it? Does his work towards restoration or towards consumption? Does he cover transgression in love or expose it for feeding? It's the vulture nature. It reveals itself in relish with the spiritual death consumes. I want you to think about that. You got to consider ministries that exist primarily to expose failures. You have those. You can go to YouTube. You see them all day. They have things. They have ministries. He called himself Smart Christian, Dumb Christians. That Corey guy, Corey Manor or something like that. They mainly sit there to exist primarily to expose failures of other ministries and other ones like. They build these platforms to tearing down what others have built. They generate content by documenting the falls of the prominence. These are the off-rich ministries, the bone breakers, that awaits for spiritual death, then extracts the value from crushing what remains there. This is why you don't see me do that. We have many of those Christian men to where they have fallen relationships and different things that happen. I don't deal with it. I'm going to deal with doctrine. I can care less what his personal life and, okay, he had this went on, he went and married this one. I can care less about that. We deal with doctrine. Men who have 2 wives and they say God permitted it, I'm going to deal with doctrine. I can care less about his personal preference. This is why you don't see me do those. But you have people who look at it. You can go back in all my content. You'll never see me do those because I never did them. I don't build what I've done here based on other people's failures. I correct your doctrine, but not try to build on your failure. But such ministry claim to defend truth. They maintain purity, protect the flock, yet observe their fruit. They build up or do they tear down? Do they restore or do they destroy? Generate life or they consume death? Ostriches, they hunt for living prey and they wait for death and break the bones. This ostrich man does not confront sin while restoration is possible. When destruction is complete, he feeds on its remains. This is not the ministry that warns against those who seek in money unlawfully or exposes false preachers and leading souls astray. For such warning serves to protect the flock, to direct them towards truth, pointing them away from error towards this narrow path that leads to life. So rather than the ostrich ministry, never speak to what Jehovah requires to enter into the kingdom, never teaches the precepts necessary for salvation, never instruct the commandments and produces righteousness, never expound on the statutes to sanctify. Instead, it exists solely to document failures and chronic falls, to break bones and already dead, generating endless content on the carcasses rather than never once declaring, "Thus said the Lord," concerning how you must be to walk into the kingdom. Revealing that his purpose was not to lead the soul a life, but to feed perpetually on the death. But the problem is many of us and many of our people, they thrive on those things. They thrive on those channels. Those people I don't want here personally. I can care less that they be here because they spiritually dead anyway. Same thing is, to even let you even know, where you can check, you can see where I've taught on Charles Dow, T.D. Jakes, and GOCC, IUIC, the Dumb Churches of Christ, Dollar, Geno Jennings, but many more, not concerning their falls, so in any way, shape, or matter, on their personal ministries, but their individual scandals if they have any, but concerning the doctrines that they teach Jehovah's people, because they control a lot of Jehovah's people. So examining their precepts against Scripture to expose the instruction that contradicts the laws, the prophets, and the testimony of the way of salvation through his prophet that walked this world was Yahushua Jesus. In this distinction between righteous warnings and protecting the flock, exposing false doctrine, is directing the souls of truth, versus the ostrich ministries that feeds on personal failures of ministerial collapses without teaching what Jehovah's require. For I have spoken not to consume their carcasses, but to rescue those sitting under their instructions, not breaking their bones, but to break the chains of false teachings, binding Jehovah's people away from error, but towards precepts that leads to the kingdom. This is why we look at those. Actually, let me show you something. I'm just running my mouth. So let me show you something. In Jeremiah chapter 8, picking up at verse 4, it says, "Moreover, thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord. Shall they fall and not arise? Shall they turn away and not return?" Jehovah questions and he expects an answer. He expects an answer. He asked this question, but he expects an answer. No. They should not arise, they should return, yet the vulture man, the ostrich man, will feed on the assumption that falls are final. Their failures are permanent. Their spiritual death is complete. They consume what might have been restored. They break the bones that might have healed. They feed on death. Might be given away to life. Let's look at something and pick this up a little bit more. In Galatians, we look at this a little bit closer. Galatians chapter 6, picking up at verse 1, it says this, and it's real clear. It says, brother, providing a man be overtaken in his fault. Providing. He's taken in his fault, which is spiritual. Restore such one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. See it here. When you look at these in many of those locations I spoke of, I do not belittle you or speak badly of you. I think the message for Jehovah to free you. Period. The spiritual man restores, the vulture man consumes. The spiritual man considers his own weakness. The vulture man feeds on others' weakness. The spiritual man operates in meekness. The vulture man operates as a wild man, a hyena, laughing at the carrion, the carcasses of decaying flay, this flesh. So such vulture flesh offers flesh. Command absolute, and you are not to learn of it. You're not to eat it. Do not internalize this scavenging pattern. Do not adopt this methods of feeding on spiritual death. You know a church is dying, you let it die. Stop trying to sit there and feed on it. Do not learn from these who thrive on others' failure, who join in exposing falls, or who build their reputation on breaking bones and spiritually dead. They are an abomination to you. Abomination. Let's look at something. Let's look at something. We're going to go a little bit more. And we had this raven. We might not be able to get to too many more, but that was the orphanage. We already went through that. But we want this raven. This raven. The raven represents those who dwell in desolation, feed on death, and spread messages of hopelessness and despair. Its black plumage symbolizes darkness and its inhabitants wasted places and ruins. This black plumage symbolizes darkness and spiritual death, desolated places associated with ruins and waste places. Feeds on carrions, because on carcasses, rather than to bring life. Did not return? Nope. Was sent out by Noah, did not return. I believe I have, I got two of them because I remember I had to tell her. So the Raven Man, we got to put him up there. We got the Raven Man. Let's put the Raven Man here. And we're going to put the raven is the carrier of darkness, is what he is. That's the Raven Man. So that's what you should have right there. The Raven Man. That's him. The raven man claims to be realistic. He claims to be truthful. And willing to speak hard truth. Yet when you examine the fruits of his speech, does it build up or tear it down? Does it generate faith or spread doubt? He prevents restoration by feeding greedily upon carcasses of spiritual death. It's right there in front of you. Why? Because we're going to prove it in a minute. And as it says, Deuteronomy 32 and 39. I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver you out of my hand. So he going to claim realism. Says he speaks truth but spread doubt and despair. He whispers hopelessness. There's no recovery. Jehovah has abandoned you, is what they say. This is his way of saying it. He prevents restoration. He does not call scattered sheep back to the law. Feeds on death. He consumes spiritual death rather than Jehovah's promises. That's him. This raven. This raven spiritually represents what you can see seized by force, this destroy, this desolation. He feeds greedily upon you. This bird is significant in Scripture. Why? Because this bird, Noah sent him forth from the ark. We're going to look at that in 1 second. But unlike the dove that returned, the raven went forth and did not return, choosing instead to feed upon the floating carcasses that destroyed the world. The raven thrives on desolation, seizes its food by force, destroys it with touches. Whatever it touches, he destroys it. And he feeds upon death. So this raven man, he represents who's going to always bring these messengers of death, this darkness, doubt, despair. He's comfortable in spiritual desolation. He's going to always seize opportunity and force rather than grace. He destroys hope rather than building faith. He feeds just this unsatiable hunger for carcasses, and he loves to destroy your confidence, fail faith. His words are not seasoned with grace ever. His messages carry darkness. His influences spreads desolation wherever he lands. Let me bring you close to this guy. So we can understand a little bit more what's going on. Let's look at this in Genesis chapter 8 and looking at verse 7. See how this goes. Actually, I want to pull one more because I'm thinking about it because I did bring that up. So let me do this too. In 1 Kings 17:4, because I did bring that up. But anyway, when we're looking at this raven, the raven and what he's about. Genesis 8:7, it says, and he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. He just rolling back and forth. He just putting in work. The raven went forth and didn't return with a report of hope at all. He didn't come back and say nothing. Nothing. Feeding on floating dead while the waters of judgment would still cover the earth. The raven, when content with the devastated world, finding the needs among the mates of the other ones that are ruined. This raven man likewise find a place of spiritual desolation, feeding upon the rains of judgment. So the same thing is, I want you to see something in 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 4, because I need to show you this anyway. It says, and he said, and it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. He commanded the ravens to feed us there. But I want to show you something. In Proverbs 30 and 17, the eye shall mock at his father, and the despised to obey his mother. The ravens of the valley shall pick it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. Exactly the point. This is what the issue is. So Jehovah even commanded the ravens to feed Elijah during this drought. This demonstrates that even the unclean can serve divine purposes when commanded. Yet you need to observe the raven feeds Elijah. Elijah did not become a raven. Think about that. He did not adopt the raven's nature. He did not eat of the raven's flesh. Did not learn of it. He received provisions through the raven without eternalizing his character. The raven, it serves, but it reminded that he's unclean. So when we see this in Proverbs, the eye that mocked at his father, despised and obeyed his mother, the raven of the valley shall pluck it out, and the young eagle shall eat it. The raven execute judgment upon the eye, the understanding that mocks and despises. So when the eye saw authority yet chose in rebellion, the raven man serves as an instrument of destruction upon those who mock spiritual authority. That mocks that. They despise obedience. He sees by force, he destroys, he feeds greedily upon those who have positioned themselves for judgment through their own rebellion. Actually, I want to run something. In Jeremiah 9:11, 9:11, he says, I will make Jerusalem, I will make Israel heaps in a den of dragons, and I will make the cities of Judah desolate, without an inhabitant. Exactly the point. Exactly the point. Because I'm going to put this other one with it to where we can get the understanding. In Jeremiah 4:22, I believe it is. 4:22, it says, for my people is foolish. Yeah. They have not known me. They are Sodom's children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. Exactly the point. Exactly the point. The raven man just always gonna feed on remains. Faith is departed from the assembly. Spiritual cut is no longer chewed through meditation. That's why I don't really ask anyone no more. Because when you don't chew the cud, there's no meditations there. There's no meditation upon the law. The raven man operates in a natural this function as a destroyer, Caesar. This is why so many people have problems in the world, dealing with what they have to deal with, because they truly don't meditate on anything. Just go from one week to the next. Their mind ain't upon God. They only want God for what he can do for them, but they don't really have a love for God. They want to seize this by force. But they lack both, divided of the hoof for the separation of the worlds and chewing the cud of Jehovah, the word, making them as sheep without a shepherd, ready and set for devouring. Set for that. The raven man, he can scatter these assemblies. There was an assembly when you want to think about different things you want to understand. Even in the parable where you even say a great city where the elders once, he taught precepts of Jehovah with diligence. And the people gathered to hear the law, read and expound according to Moses and the prophets. But the time where the chief leader began to mingle the commandments with the traditions of men, teaching prosperity apart from obedience, declared certain statutes, fulfilled anyway, no longer binding upon the followers of Christ. The people, discerning the mixture of truth in with error, they became conies. They became hares. They chew the cud of the word in their private studies, but their hooves remain undivided. For they feared to separate themselves from the popular assemblies and face the reapproach of standing alone for the pure law. Let me show you something, what I'm talking about. I know people might say, what in the world is this man saying? But I want to show you what I'm saying. In Proverbs 29, verse 25, he says this: the fear of man bringeth a snare, but whoso put his trust in the Lord shall be safe. Exactly what I'm saying. When faithful members departed one by one, seek assemblies that are not compromise the statutes. They remain in congregations weakened by the body of losing its vital organs, until finally the gathered to cease together, leaving only the empty buildings and scattered remnants. So, man himself and people who even call themselves apostles, and they arriving not with the laws of Moses, but with smooth words, promising a new move by the Spirit that requires no obedience to the written commandments. Unreal. This raven man perceives this spiritual condition, these scattered sheep poised in neither the divided hoof or separation, nor the chewing of the cud, nor through meditation, is how he's going to get you every time. This is why a lot of us is not going to make it regardless. Key, you don't meditate. You don't meditate on God's word. So many here will be dying. Many going to have their second death on that alone. They seize control of these abandoned buildings through legal maneuverings. Because the only time you fulfill the building is on the Sabbath day. Now you follow what I'm saying? You come in the building on the Sabbath, and then you abandon it after it's over. And you only remember to come back because it's the Sabbath. You establish therein a gathering that's taught the freedom of the law and demanding heavy some where they're going to heavy all these financial burdens and other burdens and everything else. But I want to show you something. How the other people live in this world. And you'll see this in Ezekiel 34 and verse 2. It says, Son of man, prophesied against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesied and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God unto the shepherds. Because just that's what they are. These are shepherds because they're going to follow them as a shepherd because they're teaching their own doctrine. Woe to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not these shepherds feed the flock? Interesting. Ye eat the fat, and you clothe you with the wool, and kill them that are fed. But ye feed not the flock. Exactly the point. Exactly the point. But let's drop down to 11. It says, thus said the Lord God, thus said the Creator God, remember, even I both search my sheep and seek them out. Comparing the shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day, and among his sheep that are scattered, I will also seek my sheep. I will deliver them out of all the places where they have been scattered in the cloudy, in the dark day. So you put all this together to get the understanding. You go back to Genesis chapter 8 and 7. As he said, he sent forth a raven. It went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up. The reason why we got to understand he's going to prevent restoration. And he's going to feed upon your carcass. Declaring the former assembly was dead, and it was dead under legalism. And now they're going to say this is a new doctrine. You don't have to meditate. So many people sitting there, well, I don't really have to meditate like that. I don't really have to meditate on God's word like that. Many people are saying that right now. I don't have to do that. You're already dead. You're already dead. Providing himself on what you're doing. Finding its substance and floating dead rather than returning to the ark for safety. Let's look at something. And we'll find this in Job 38, and we're going to pick it up at verse 41. And he said, who provided for the raven his food? And when his young ones cry unto God, they wonder for lack of meat. Yeah. Even the one young ravens, Jehovah's provision, yet the nature of them remaining unchanged, seized by force. He gives you over to them. His prayers does not transform his nature. So I want you to consider this, and I want you to remember something. Never forget this. We'll see this in Luke 12:24. I want you to really constantly meditate on this. He says, consider the raven. Consider the raven, for they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barn, and God feedeth them. How much more is better than the fowl? They feed on the dead. They feed on the dead. We'll bring it a little bit closer. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 10, it says, with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. God should send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie, and that all might be damned who believe not the truth, for they have pleasure in unrighteousness. You being fed to them. You purposely is being fed to them. You don't even know you're already dead. And this is anyone who don't meditate. You're already dead. So I need you to consider the persons who presence of being with all the heaviness, the words of discouragement, because I'm not here to discourage you, but I'm just showing you a lot of people is already dead. He thrives on spiritual desolation. He finds places where things collapse. Others who work to build, he declares the work fruitful. While others pray for restoration, he pronounces judgments final. He seizes the opportunity by force. He awaits for this divine timing. The raven man destroys for who is weak in faith. The ones who struggles. The ones who struggle, I don't meditate all the time. Yeah, you're already dead. You're already dead. He said you meditate day and night. No, I don't have to do that. Okay. Why? Because you're already dead. The Raven Man claims to be realistic, truthful, like we just showed. But every message, the Raven ministry is where the place of warning approaches judgment according to Scripture. The Raven ministry goes beyond warning to dwelling in desolation, beyond judgment, feeding on destruction. Such ministries, you'll find strange comfort in darkness, who prefer certainty and doom, who hope rather than confirm. Their fear, their challenge, their faith. The Raven Man, his followers, sit together, they ruins, they feeding on carrion. The Raven Man declares that deliverance from the coming of judgment requires the increase of a financial seed. They can get you that way. Many people are going to fall to that Raven Man. The Raven Man is going to take out a lot of people. So we got to stop it here. And we have a lot to do in the back. But we're going to hold up right here. Because you got to understand what that Raven Man is all about. Because it's a big warning against him. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop it here, and we're going to pick back up on the Raven Man on next week. Because just like I said, a lot of us is already dead. So what I am going to be doing, I'm going to be going into Zoom for the sisters to where they can present, but then also get information on tabernacles that's coming up. Because we do have that's coming up, and we need to make sure we have that set for what we get ready to do. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do that. We're going to go into the back. We're going to get the announcements. Any new people that's want to join us, come back there and make sure, we have cameras on and to where we can meet them. And then on tomorrow, I believe we will have Deaconette with Bible Therapy. You can get to that link also by going to KJBU.org. You can get that link there. But other than that, we're going to go in the back. We're going to get ready. We're going to be going through some pretty good lessons and going over. So I say to each and every one, until we meet again, I say to you, enjoy the rest of your Sabbath, and shalom.
Oh.